So welcome to the FuturePrint PodFEST. We're here in London talking about the decorative world of Europe. My name is Royce Dodds. I work for Cruse Technologies. I'll just let them first introduce themselves. So we'll start with Harald, please.
I'm Harald Jordan. I'm co-founder and managing director of IPAC, small company located in the southern part of Austria. And we are providing to decor industry or decor surface industry the leading color measurement technology. And so I'm happy to be here. Thanks for invitation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Robert. I am in the decorative industry since 2011 and decided to run my own business starting in January 2026 with a company Metiqon dedicated to digital workflows and solutions.
So I'm Marc Graindourze, Agfa. I call myself an ink expert, and decorative printing is one of our key applications where we're very active, both with an Agfa full system solution, but we're also one of the key ink and primer suppliers for digital printing. We are an inkjet ink expert. And my role is to connect to the industry and companies making printers to have a solution together.
Thank you. So my first question is actually, where were we about 10 years ago? Where are we now? And where might we be in 2030? But we might leave that last little bit to the end, because I think it'll evolve through this conversation. So guys, where do you think we were and where are we now in the digital print world?
Well, I think 10 years ago, we were living in a world of digital islands. Everybody had his island, his solution, his product. They were not really connected to each other, even though there was a big spirit and hope for digital solutions in the future, which unfortunately in a lot of cases did not turn out as perfectly as they were thought in the beginning. So that is my short view in a nutshell of 10 years ago where we were.
And where do you think we might be at the moment?
At the moment, I think a lot of us, not only here, also in the decorative world, have understood that the complexity is a lot higher than we thought 10 years ago. Everybody was maybe too dedicated to too much focus to himself and did not look at the whole picture. But nowadays we know that the whole picture you have to keep in mind, and that is also the solution. And maybe last but not least, the technology nowadays is really available and works. 10 years ago, I think this was not as good as we all wished it would have been.
And Harald, what do you think?
I think 10 years ago, we had to face ecosystems, analog ecosystems in the decor printing industry. And nowadays, we have to understand that with analog thinking, digital projects are risking to fail. And this is a very important, from my point of view, very important perspective, looking at the digital printing business at the moment. Because in the past, we had the experience that a lot of experts of analog business tried to work with digital printing, same as they were familiar with in the analog world. And I think this was one of the main problems that created, that avoided the success of digital printing.
And Marc?
Yeah, 10 years ago, when I went to a new customer, half a day I was explaining what is inkjet, what can inkjet do, what does it deliver. So that's gone. People now have seen in many applications that it actually works, that it's reliable, that you can make it work. That doesn't mean that you have a solution, because only looking to the nozzle is every time jetting, the drop comes on where I want it to be, that's just a part of it. That's not a solution. And that's what Robert hinted to. It's about having growing up together, that you each was looking in his own silo and making that work. And now it's proven that it can work in many other applications, by the way. And each time you have to look, what is this specific application? Decorative surface or many different separate applications with their own workflow. And if it works in ceramics, which it does, full conversion, with a full economic reason to change, doesn't mean that you have a solution for laminates. Each time it's different. So making a printer that works all the time is important. You need that, and you need to trust in that. But it's just something that in the end is an enabler of the solution. Same with the ink. We have spent so much time on the ink development for the first stage that was delivering a laminate in the impregnation, in all the processes. Because if you develop a digital printer and then you have to change all the processes, it will not happen. If you can replace analog by an inkjet printer and keep all the post-process, what happens afterwards, you can be successful if you manage the processes. I think that's what didn't happen 10 years ago. And this is now what the early adopters have proven that they can do. So now it's about getting that further down the industries.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I like the connotation of the digital islands. And I would say at the moment, you can hopefully agree that I think we've built the bridges.
Yeah, I was
with those
just thinking about bridges as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
And we're at that sort of stage where we're realizing that the workflows and everything are working. So,
And when you think about islands, I like to point out what Harald said, that imagine analog islands, and one island is one machine, and now you take an analog machine and change it to a digital machine. 10 years ago you thought, now I have a digital workflow, which is absolutely wrong, yeah, because everybody talks about the machine because it's the most expensive asset, but the machine itself does nothing. You have to have this workflow, this process. And this are these bridges you are talking about between all the digital islands to communicate.
Yes, plus the manual or the visual expertise of your analog operator,
Yeah.
you can automate that in a way that you do control, color management, image quality management, all those control managers change your workflow.
Yeah.
But if you're on your island, you forget about it.
yeah. So, in the risk of the complexity was misjudged previously. So, I mean, how do we correct this today? You know, how do we explain to people, yes, it was very complex. Is there a way of simplifying it? Is there a way of making it come across that it's actually easier than people now think?
I mean, complex, the word complex is scary, yeah. In the end, keep it simple, but also you can take complex workflows or complex connections and look at them at a simple way, at an ecosystem, and how to work this ecosystem. And on the other hand, nowadays, I think there are a lot more experts that understand also the connection between software, hardware, people, mindset than it was maybe 10 years ago. And one of the key success factor of digital manufacturing is thinking in a team, thinking in your ecosystem, and don't think about standing alone, because then you will never succeed.
I want to take it to the full end from the market. What can a company sell, and what can you produce? How does that workflow totally fits? The design method, the method to create a design has changed or can change, and artificial intelligence will further shorten the time to design and the freedom to design. It's something that fits with digital, but in the end, you need to control your full workflow from what the market wants and what we can do with the technology, from creating the design, from producing it. And there is the short run thing, there is the personalization, the mass customization part, which all can help. Also the end of life in an analog way, where you used to print high runners for days. They are not so active anymore, not so much common. And you need now designs that you design a lot. You might not be sure which one be successful. So you have to introduce them. Digital is perfect because you can play with the run length. Digital is also perfect in the end of life because you don't have a minimal amount that you produce via gravurals. You print exactly what you need, have obligation to deliver last moment of the existence of a design. So digital can be growing into a really solution in the full lifetime of your design. I think that's getting understood, but now it's the way to have that in a controlled workflow produced in an economical way.
So we've been talking about analog and digital here. So do you have to have been an analog printer to be a digital printer of now and in the future?
Royce, I feel we should have a spot on this internal competition between two technologies. From my point of view, and we are working with, at least since 2015, we started working in digital printing, also with our measurement technology. And what we learned at the beginning, it was pure competition at the customer side between the two teams which were producing analog or digital. I talked to top managers 5, 7, 8 years ago, and they said within 2 or 3 years, digital will completely substitute analog. Something that was not given in the reality. But what we learned in the last 10 years, and actually more than 10 years ago, analog needs digital. Why? We see a rising number of smaller and smaller batches, and you have a logical minimum batch for analog. This is 1 ton or 1 roll of paper. You cannot switch within 1 roll and discuss if you have 2 or 3 changes of decors in 1 roll analog. But it's not only that. Digital actual needs analog because it's perhaps still a problem to produce 10 or 20 tons. Also, when Robert says he made the experience, you can do 5 or 10 tons, optimizing your process. But this is an understanding because also digital processes are not still optimized.
Yep.
And from that point of view, I'm convinced the learning of the last 10 years of digital printing in surface is both technologies needs each other to be competitive in the future and to have an economic outcome. I'm completely convinced that this is the main learning of the last years of working in analog and digital world.
So the question, if you need to be an analog printer to run a digital printing machine, I would clearly say no. 10 years ago, I would have said maybe. But if you look at us here, none of us is a printer and everybody can run a digital machine. None of us can run an analog machine for sure. Yeah. So the complexity we talk about in running the equipment is a lot less than the old complexity that we know. So therefore, also if you look already at the market, not only printers have digital machines. You just mentioned Resopal. There are a lot of companies that have tried, even in early stages, to run their own digital machine. Some with success, some with no success. And this is also part of the evolution and part of the learning how to be successful in digital printing. So this is going to be interesting for the future when you talk about 2030. If really only printer run digital machinery or also other users, and that don't have to be people out of the industry today. Could be maybe somebody out of the industry, but who is good with data.
Who's good with data and good with digital. We see also interaction that people that have a packaging background or decorative look to the other side and think, I'm a printer, I could do this. And they have no feeling with the industry as such. In the end, it's all about, when I look into my business of ink for working with companies building a printer, what is successful? When you have both technical skills and market access. It's the same here. You need the market access. If you have a good printer but nobody knows, you're not selling it. So you need the connection. And then coming back to the collaboration, we need not a connection as Agfa with a company printing, we need the connection with the other key elements of the solution, being the color management, the control of the quality, the software, whole thing. You need to think as a group, as a collaborative group, to help the company set its workflow correct. Or they use Robert as a consultant, but but I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
you need somebody, an influencer. Sorry to call you an influencer,
Thank
you. You need a positive flow around that. That you don't buy something steady and put it there and look to it. You have to actively look to your workflow.
And coming back to the question, if you need experience in printing, it may be an advantage, but only if you learn how to manage a digital world. And this is a complete different game. So if you start to standardize, digitize, automate your analog process, it's a good preparation to start with digital. But if you don't touch your old process, your old workflows, the experience of analog printing can be a real obstacle, a real problem in applying digital technology.
And it's not a shame to seek help. It's not a shame. DIPA organization is there to help you.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of knowledge from the early adopters and from the suppliers together with producers.
But this is a big difference when you live on an island. You know your borders and you know what belongs to you and what doesn't belong to you. But now opening up, it's not as easy as it sounds for everybody. But only together you will be successful. Yeah.
So one of my customers always said, we will not compete in technology, we will compete on the design of the decorative parts. So why not try to adopt to all of them the best-in-class inkjet technology and make the best design in each of the mindset of the company that will sell the laminates or the decorative panels or the edge band or whatever the decorative part is. Work on the design, where you can be a lot of creative with new technology and use the technology where it's proven.
Yeah.
The workflow where it's proven.
So I'll definitely ask that sort of dirty question now. AI. Let's go start your sidetrack. So we're talking about design, and we're talking about the printers, and we're talking about standardization. So it is a buzzword, AI, and people have their own concepts of what it could be, what it could do for them. Maybe you could give us a little insight. Maybe what could it do for you? Are you using it? Do you plan to use it? Do you see it beneficial to your area? Do you see it as a counterbalance?
We are working in several AI projects in the last 2 or 3 years. What is our first experience? First experience is there is a big enthusiasm, as it was 10 years with digital printing. And then you come on the reality, and I say, I'm completely convinced there is no artificial intelligence useful and helpful and is creating added value without natural intelligence how to use it. You need the experience, you need knowledge, you need the right people to work with all these systems. And the big problem in the industry is the analog industry is a handicraft. It's not industry, it's handicraft. Handicraft means you don't have reliable data. You are deciding without not fact and data based. And if you don't leave this basis, this individual and let's say very not objective basis to decide something, you are not ready to start with digital technologies. So this is a very important issue.
I'm a little bit more optimistic than you are, because I think artificial intelligence is also something 10 years ago nobody thought about it. Now it's here. If you see the speed of the evolution is amazing, and for me it's an absolutely game changer, because the secret knowledge of creating a design and how to get it printable, this knowledge has no value anymore, because with artificial intelligence you can simulate it already. Now we can discuss to which level we reach it, are we able to copy 100% with artificial intelligence? Will you see the difference? Yes or no? Maybe you see the difference today, but I guarantee you in 3 months down the road or 6 months down the road, you don't see it anymore. And this can be also a game changer for the industry. And I think here the companies need to think, and I'm not talking about printers here or board makers, I talk about market. What if every one of us wants a floor in his own design with his own picture in 20 square meters delivered in 10 days? Today, impossible. You have to choose what is offered. But in the future, you are the creative person and you want the design that you took on the beach of somewhere, and you want this design in your living room, for example. Technology-wise, it's possible, and AI helps you here. So that is, for me, a game changer, AI.
So would you say it's democratized the case of design?
Yeah.
know?
I'm sure that's going there. Look at the way we make pictures today. Everybody has thousands of pictures, and this is going to happen with designs as well. There will be many designs.
Completely agreed on design. I'm talking about a very narrow, isolated argument, how to raise productivity in the process, how to reduce downtime of very, very expensive machines, how to substitute experts in the process by automating the things. And this is a very special issue where the artificial intelligence does not find enough information to help.
Not
So
yet.
this is something that has to be created, and the creation of this information is data-based. And this is something that the analog world is not familiar to work with.
Exactly. That's why having analog printing is not a guarantee to be successful in digital.
Yeah.
Because the digital process is standardization 100%. And here you have the data.
Right.
And yes, here we come to the other question. Do you have to be a printer to be a digital printer? No, we don't have to be a printer. You have to be an expert in data, an expert in openness and innovation.
And collaboration.
And collaboration.
And
Innovations for collaboration.
Let's emphasize the next very important issue, the threat of demographic developments. Actually, we know, and 10 years ago, my feeling was when you came in an organization with the idea to standardize, to digitize, to automate, everyone was fearing he's losing his job. Now everyone is fearing not to find the people to do the job. So what is the outcome of this discussion? The demographic situation is, yes, a big threat for our whole society, but it's a big chance for the printers to change their attitude, to change their mindset. They have to think different, because the old thinking does not give any possibility to solve the problem of how to find the right people to do the job in the future.
Yeah, and what is very interesting to observe is that this technology we are talking about is not only installed in Europe, where we so developed countries. When you look around in India, in South Korea, you have the modest technology installed in so-called third world countries. So also here comes the threat to Europe if they are moving faster than we are.
And Marc?
Well, yeah, I think a lot of parts or a lot of thinking is 100% I also feel. The data is certainly something that is an advantage if you use it. And you can do with less operators more. If you use your data, if you control your data, if you still add your brain to it, that's what you said, Harald. Yeah. I'm a strong believer of that too. You need still a good brain to have interpretation and to move to the next level. So control, being possible to do repeat jobs, even to have maybe a central printer and locations on other places, and control the data, control the designs, and be aware of the output and measure. Get data, measure what you're doing. The technology is ready to be reliable. It's there. but you have to control and have data to be sure, to know what you're doing.
So,
And you have to change your mindset.
so I'll join in on this one as well, because Cruse is a scanner company. And we're the original Decor scanner company.
Yeah.
And people are always going, well, how can a scanner company, can you not be afraid? Well, you can't be afraid. You have to enhance. You have to join in. You have to hold hands with that technology. And we also supply scanners to companies, and they're scanning databases for AI creative databases that will help people, help design teams create. Because the skill sets, like you've talked about, the skill sets are lacking. The skill sets are no longer there. People are retiring quite quickly in Germany, and people aren't catching up.
Yeah.
So there's actually a technology gap in a sense, but there's also a knowledge gap. How do I create a rotogravure design? Very complex. And a digital design is also complex, but it can be made easier through these technologies. And I think that is a key point. How do you help companies take hold of technology that makes it easy for those people? And I think AI can help them in that area.
It's a big tool in the end of the day. You
Yes,
need to
exactly.
know how to use this tool.
Yeah. So the biggest challenge today in print technology itself, so is the technology the challenge, or is the financial aspect of it a challenge? And how do you see that? Do you see it so like the technology is so advanced, but it's so expensive? Or do you see it that the technology is advanced, but the return of investment is there for these? I mean, rotogravure is outrageously expensive if you wanted to go down the rotogravure route. But digital technologies?
I mean, rotogravure is expensive if you start from zero tomorrow.
Exactly.
But all the players in the market have already started a long time ago. Therefore, all the equipment is written off. So and that is the obstacle for digital, because when you're bringing new technology, new machinery, and you really only substitute the machine by the machine, and then you compare the old with the new, due to the big difference in investment and running costs, it makes it really hard to get it running on a good level of earnings. Yeah. Therefore, you always have to look at the whole concept and not only look at the machine. Also, the analog process has a lot of hidden costs nobody talks about, but everybody knows they are there. And then you really have to compare apples with apples. And then I think with the productivity you can achieve, and this is, by the way, a big advantage in this industry, that the analog process is so old-fashioned, so handicrafted,
Yep.
that the digital is really out of a new world. So the gap is really big. And if you use it correctly, then you are really able to compete against analog with digital. Yeah, I think even one step further, the digital technology is able nowadays to substitute rotogravure. But the mindset is not ready yet. The organizations are not ready yet. And as long as they are not moving forward, we are standing still with the evolution.
Yeah, so I completely agree, but there is the next level is already ongoing, not only in decorative. And that is that inkjet is totally not at the end of its evolution in technology. Every 18 months, there is another big step in more effective working. Avoiding every ink drop too much, which is in the end money, it's ink consumption. There are constantly upgrades. Even if it's evolution, it always goes down, making it cheaper per square meter printed. It's happening all the time. And it's not at the end at all. So today is already effective for certain run lengths, but the scope of the run lengths will only improve over the next few years. That's for me something that is a bit underestimated. Not only in decorative, also in other, we see that you can be much more effective than you think. It's milliliters per square meter that you use of an ink, not more. So people are a bit fooled by the price per liter. You really have to do your ROE calculation, your total cost of ownership calculation correctly. The hidden cost is analog, but the real cost of your inkjet print, calculate how much you effectively spend per square meter. If you do that in a correct workflow with short changeover times between designs and so on, it's still for me a big surprise that, for instance, like in edge band, where you can do something completely different, where today you have you make your ABS, you pigment added to the fluid, you make it in line, at 10 meters a minute you extrude, you have your gravure printing that design all the time. That's very, very slow and no flexibility. On the other hand, you have your inkjet printer with prints like 30, 40 centimeter, 50 meters a minute, and you can change the design in 1 second. That is a total out of flexibility and have run lengths of 10 to 20 minutes. Why is this not flying? This is a proven solution, inks that are IKEA approved, low metre and so on, and still you lack the investment in such. Virtual edge band is a big market. Gravure is dominating by 95% plus. The solution is there, is proven, but is still not flying. And that workflow is not so difficult compared to, for instance, HPL flooring. So it's a bit of a surprise that you don't see it happening. While all parts are there and the collaboration is there. So that's for me a little bit difficult sometimes to understand.
Harald?
I think that one of the learnings that we have to take of the last 10 years is we have a new definition of competition and we have a new definition of collaboration. Who against to compete? From my point of view, and we have had a big discussion in a working group in DIPA, what makes a digital project successful. And we learned, and we had 12 companies, 12 experts discussing a couple of months, and the output is available on DIPA website, or at least for the DIPA members. And one of the key issues is the first steps in digital printing was technology, pure technology driven. Actually, if we would start a new project, start with the business case, start with the business model. Second step, start to build up the organization that allows to invest. Third, let the people grow with small projects and not with too big investments at the beginning. It gives a lot of pressure for the team, it gives a lot of pressure for the decision makers. And at the end, we have two possibilities to raise up digital printing. First of all, be creative and with AI or with classical methods, build up your decors, which can't be printed, only digital. And then give the awareness to the question, are we able to convert analog and digital? We are doing it because the first step in creating a digital decor is always, I think in the meanwhile, all digital. That means we are already familiar in converting digital to analog. We are not familiar in converting analog to digital. And these are the main arguments that are main problems and challenges that has to be faced when we talk about the future of decor printing in Europe. So these learnings came out of our DIPA project, what makes the digital print project successful. And this is something that these learnings can be taken and they are offered from, for example, from the organization like DIPA.
So they're good valid points and they lead really into the next question really nicely. So, I mean, what will determine whether digital decoration sees significant growth over the next few years, which takes us now slowly into the future?
The will to change, the will to adapt. and to be open for change, and don't stay on the old known road and try to take an adventure in this new technology, and also work with the advantages. Yeah. And the advantages, we said a few times already, it's not only the machine and the way how the ink comes on the paper. The advantage is the whole workflow from market to final product, the approach to the market and so on. So a lot of these old analog machines will be on the end of life cycle. Also here is the question, do I substitute with an analog or do I go the digital way? Also here, our part here is definitely to communicate more, to tell a lot of people what's possible, because there are also a lot of false informations out there in the market. Yeah, people hear something and then come with an argument with maybe a reality 5 years ago. Nowadays it's solved. Yeah, for example, when I hear that the ink price is so high. Yeah, yes, the ink price is higher, but 5 years ago the ink price was a lot higher, and you just said economy of scale. That means when the digital grows, the ink price goes down. By the way, 50 years or 60 years ago, the ink price of rotogravure was also higher than today. Yeah? But rotogravure or analog is optimized to the max. Inkjet is in the beginning. I'm absolutely with you. We are in the beginning of the evolution, not in the end. And this is a power. So I'm sure that all these factors have an influence. And I think there is a silent revolution. We always talk about the big bangs. This one failed. Here's a big investment. But if you look over the whole market, and not only decorative, when you look at FESPA, for example, when you will see the amount of multipass machines there, it's a continuous growing amount of people or companies that are start to using every time more digital printing. And this takes away the old market step by step. There will be not the big bang. Maybe 10 years ago we saw digital is a big bang. That was not the case. But now it's a continuous evolution and a continuous grow. And this grow will accelerate.
It's the fit for use. Huh? When you mentioned FESPA, if you look a bit from a side to that, what do you see now? The printers there, they have the right output. And what do they replace? 3 old printers with low output that they bought 10 years ago. They can replace it by one single printer who has the output and who's automated, because the operator cannot follow the output. So they need to automate it by handling robots and special tables, and move the printed paper away from, make the tray free for the next. All that is happening in that industry of sign and display, where, by the way, what is happening? The smaller print providers are getting out. It's going with bigger houses that need high output printers. When you look to decorative printing, the solutions are there, but are getting much more fit for use. Make it work on how the market is evolving. And that's what I see as the big evolution. And the only advice you can give to somebody who want to step in, go to the people already doing it. Keep your eyes open, learn, go to conference, go to IPAC, learn what is there, and then make your idea about how to do it yourself. Not first make my idea and then gonna look for failures.
Yeah.
And we should not ignore, transformation takes place. The question is only who sits in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
The decision, you take it now, not tomorrow. Because others are already thinking this direction, using the capabilities given by Decor, the decorative digital printing.
So at the beginning we were talking about digital islands, and then we talked about bridges. And this has been the last question, because it's a sort of a rounder question. If you're actually the maverick in the boat between the islands, doesn't want to use the bridges, what would your lighthouse be? If you wanted to start digital printing, what would you recommend? I mean, you've talked about going to the deeper, going to FEST, but going to FuturePrint and all these events. But what would your lighthouse comment be to guide people in the right direction?
For me, it would be the future approach to the market and how to be successful in the market. And we talked about it, that the market is changing, the needs are changing, the people are changing. And the technology that helps to fulfill these changes is the digital technology. Therefore, the lighthouse for me is the market demand. And the printing industry itself is continuously innovating over the last 50 years. Yeah, since Gutenberg, 500 years ago, the innovation is very strongly. The decorative printing maybe is one of the ones that resisted a long time, but the resistance is now over because now are the solutions. So the lighthouse for me is personally, where does the market go? Smaller lot sizes, more creativity, faster time to market, which by the way can also be an advantage to all the Asian competitions that are around the corner, because you can do a lot of things, but Asia is still a few thousand miles away and transport is an issue. So all this can be taken in account, and that would be the lighthouse to focus to this direction with all the power you have available.
Mark?
Yeah, I was listening to you and in my mind came up, you need a business approach, you need creativity, and use the technology correct. That's the combination. And two out of the three is not enough. You need to do all three together. And we have to help people.
Yep.
And Harald?
My personal lighthouses are all the things that are working. That means collaborative-based projects with success. Look at those projects and leave behind all the things that not worked, because we know why they not worked. We analyzed it. We know why certain things did not work in the past. And now we start to understand how the things works better than the first 10 years of digital printing in the decor market. You already know that.
If you look to R&D, I have an R&D background, and still it's 2026. I talk to my R&D team, and what I sometimes say, I tried that experiment again. I know I did it last year and the year before, but now I know better how to do it. Now it works. So the old past is the past. With all your knowledge that you have built up as a person, you can use that technology to make something better with all you know now. And you have to keep doing that, the creativity.
And we should encourage ourselves to understand where are our capabilities, where are our limitations. And in a customer project where you put together capabilities and limitations, it's like a puzzle. Then you see the blank puzzle, or the puzzle you have to fill in together. And this is only possible if you have a trustful, innovative collaboration in such a project.
So I'll just end this with my lighthouse effect would be to really talk to people, communicate with people. You don't have to share insider knowledge at all. Just go around questioning people, but question as many people as you can.
Yep.
Don't question a single person, question many. And we'd like to thank Future Tech PodFEST for having us here. And we're very appreciative of being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.